Hello, good morning, everyone. It is cold. It's a Monday in January, but we are here to bring a bit of energy. Thank you so much, Rachel, for joining me together. I say joining me. This is kind of your gig, your conversation that we're going to be having today. But it is part of the Inclusion Rewritten LinkedIn and podcast master kind of class that I've been putting together over the last couple of months. So for those who don't know me, I'm Sally. I am one of the founders of Talent Included. And this really, Rachel, Rachel, just tell me a little bit about you and your consultancy, because it's so exciting.
Oh, thanks, Helen. Hello, everybody. I hope you're all okay and not caught up with all the challenging weather things we have. Today's about sunshine. Today's about having a bit of excitement and talking about the future, which Sally and I, unfortunately, are relentlessly energetic. And that could be quite painful for the next half hour, but we'll see how we get through. And why are we energetic? Because we love what we do. I work for Change Wave Consultancy. I'm the founder and CEO of Change Wave Consultancy. I help teams and organizations change their culture because I absolutely love doing that through inclusion, well-being, employee experience. And I also help individuals shape their careers, and especially people who work in this area. We'll come on to what we're going to do with that in a bit, which is our Crest Masterclass, because the future is bright. And don't believe the naysayers that tell you that, you know, it's all gone to pot and EDI is dead and inclusion's dead and culture change is dead. We know that it isn't, Sally, and we're here to make sure we keep that flag flying, aren't we?
We are absolutely. And this really, I mean, we had this conversation just before Christmas, didn't we? And online on LinkedIn, I can put the link in actually for you to kind of catch up on that session. But the response that we got from that conversation was off the chart, right? One actually texted me personally and said, look, everything that you described on that call was exactly what I have been experiencing. A change in reporting line, projects being put on hold, budgets being cut, you know, a new name for the work I do. And I think it's fair to say, I mean, for those of you who don't know, I work in the inclusion space. I run a recruitment consultancy business that focuses on hiring these individuals into organizations. We have a career coaching arm that really kind of helps those navigate through. And although Rachel and I do different things, we do it from different sides of the coin, if you like. And so that's why we like to come together to collaborate. But I think what we can't avoid right now is that the market, there's a particular mood in the market, especially for people who are working in culture, EDI, people and talent. There is a pressure that is very much felt. There is a real sense of uncertainty. For lots of people, there's quite a sense that their role has changed, even if their job title hasn't, or their job title and everything that's kind of happening within the kind of, you know, undercurrent is changing as well. So Rachel kind of intimated that, you know, we want to ensure that people are thriving in their careers in 2026. But I think we saw a real sense, didn't we, Rachel, that people were actually just trying to survive in 2025.
Completely. And look, I was one of them. I absolutely get that. We all were, you know, this time last year, we were all a little bit nervous, you know, the Trump factor, sorry to use the T word, but we were, if you'd have told me in January 2025 where we would have been at the end of the year, I don't think I would have believed you. I've been in this world now, this space now for over 15 years. I've been through it. I've been through those times when there's been a backlash, where there's been challenges and we've had to really dig deep, where there's been a bit of apathy and no one's really doing anything. And then shortly, at some point, sadly, it's often some kind of tragedy that then makes everybody get excited again. I don't think I'd ever seen it as quick. I don't think I saw the change as quick as we did last year. Within months, our world is being questioned, torn apart, and organizations are, you know, making very quick decisions, particularly if you worked, I previously worked for a US-based organization. You felt that quickly, you know, all those organizations that have been going out there saying, we're going on our pride marches. We absolutely love inclusion. It's great for our organization. all of a sudden threw it all away. And that naturally had a ripple effect. And the other sad thing is, it's not just in the US, that obviously anything that happens in the US can have a wider impact, can't it? But particularly we started seeing it with, for example, and I'm not going into politics here, but, reform having far more of a greater presence, and one of their objectives has been to get rid of DEI roles in their councils. And that's one of the first things they tried to do. They didn't actually realise they didn't have any to start with, but we'll move on from that point of view anyway. That said, it was a really wobbly time. I'm not going back into negativity, but I guess what we need to accept is why it felt so hard last year. Why it's a hard job anyway. I don't think I've ever had a really easy ride working in inclusion, culture change. It never is. You've got to be relentless. You're often the only person in your organisation who does it, or you're part of a smaller team than compared to your finance colleagues, or you're even perhaps your wider HR colleagues. You're often on your own. It felt so hard last year, and I think we were all brought down by it. But where we've come from, Sally, we recognise this isn't going away. The cork's been took out of the bottle now. You can't just get rid of ED&I on inclusion and cultural change. It's too far gone. Now you can reframe it, and that's what we've been talking about, Sally, isn't it? About the importance of having a wider offer here. Gone are the days when we can just talk about one protected characteristic. Gone are the days we can just talk about, to be honest, one area such as inclusion. And that's no bad thing in my view. I think actually it can get a bit narrow. And if we have a much wider piece, and I know you've seen a lot of that, Sally, in terms of your recruitment work, where people are looking now for a much wider skill set, aren't they?
I think they're absolutely looking for a much wider skill set, whether that is an educated decision or not, still hangs in the balance, if I'm being quite honest. I think where we've seen a lot of pushback, or where I'm encouraging a lot of pushback is, has the work been done internally to really identify what it is that you need from this function or this individual in terms of impact, in terms of measurement? How far have you really gone on that journey? And if you're taking an opportunity to maybe take a different change in direction, what are the reasons for that? Because I think what we're actually seeing is a real lack of consistency across the industry, across the profession. There are some incredibly capable people all of a sudden feeling very unsure about themselves and their roles. And these are roles that they used to feel really empowered and confident in. I think there has been a very uneducated view on the work, the impact this work really has. And I'm not just talking about in terms of unrepresented talent, but in terms of the impact innovation has on organizations that have more represented talent. The trading conditions that we are trading in at the moment are VUCA, they are really, really, really uncertain. And what we're not doing, or what organizations are not doing, is identifying the distinct link between having a really cognitive, diverse workforce that is more innovative, that will go that extra mile if you're talking about kind of employee experience and kind of retention, being able to attract that talent in the first place in order, and also to reach new markets. I did loads of work in the grocery industry and the FMCG industry, and the importance they put on inclusion work, not only from a workforce perspective, but in terms of the markets they're trying to reach, they really do prioritize it. And so I think there's been a real kind of disconnect in terms of what has been seen as a kind of political landslide and actually the impact this work has. But that in itself has kind of created, like I said, this real kind of inconsistency or real inability for organizations to be able to measure and demonstrate worth of this work. And the individuals have been left completely discombobulated in trying to kind of navigate their way through. And I think, that's hopefully some of the work that we can do to kind of support those individuals through. I don't know what you're going to complete rant then. Apologies.
No, I feel it. Well, that's what this is, a therapy session as well as something to involve. We're here today to tease up, obviously, our masterclass, where we're going to be supporting you through what 2026 brings, because you will still need to do this work. And yes, there's this argument that it's gone too far. However, what I notice, and I've got no real evidence yet to bear this out, I'm noticing a real demand for ER specialists at the moment. ER is absolutely rocking. Well done if you work in ER. You're going to be paid for a long time. There's lots going on. There's got to be a correlation between the downturn in investment in inclusion work and the increasing demand for employee relations support. There's got to be something there. So it's not just these big concepts about whether diverse recruitment's right, you know, whether it's gone too far. It's the bread and butter. It's the day-to-day bits. This is why it's not just about inclusion and DEI initiatives and things like that. It's about the wider bit about we know, and in the VUCA world you're talking about, that organizations are going to have to be even more agile. They're going to have even more productive staff, because most of them are doing more with less. They're going to have to work really hard then with engagement. And what organizations don't have is lots of money to throw at people to keep them. And as we know, it doesn't keep people for that long anyway. It's the other wider bit. Still now, whatever you listen to, most people want to work in an organization where they feel they belong. It's as simple as that. We're not talking about all the other really contentious stuff that we can sit here and debate. Do you want to come into work, do your best job, and feel like you belong there? You do, unless you're not human. And hey, that might be happening soon. Who knows? By the end of this year,
oh my goodness,
human anymore. But if you're human, you need to work in an organisation where you belong. So, Sally, if you are so we're letting the negative bit go. What we're leaving behind in 2025 is negativity. We're here. They tried to stop us. We're still going. You know, more fool them. So, if you're working in this space, Sally, from your recruitment angle, what do you think your options are going forward?
Well, I think and we could go into rabbit holes, so many different things here, and I'm going to pull myself back, but I think that you touched on it there in terms of, if you're human or if you're not, okay. There is the AI integration and adoption that's going to be happening at pace over the next couple of years is something that none of us, if you think about this VUCA world, none of us can predict, okay? But I think it's really important to note that organizations are no longer designing careers for individuals in the way that they once did, okay? They are designing operating models, and you as an individual are expected to stretch, absorb, and adapt inside them. Okay, so you talk about agility. Agility is absolutely a key skill that everyone is going to need. You and I have both experienced this setting up our own consultancy firms. The skills that we've had to learn at pace in order to stay relevant and current and future focused have, at times nearly taken us both out, but we're here for it. Okay. But I think you really have to have that kind of real kind of agile growth mindset. So there's this kind of, concept that, people in their careers are waiting to be looked after, waiting to be trained, waiting to be developed, expecting to be protected because of how long they've been in organizations. And this is a really risky approach, even for those who are kind of, I think, class high performers. So, I think what we need to be mindful of is what your options are as individuals. Is it that you kind of stay put and trying to stay under the radar, okay, and think actually, there's nothing kind of been going on here and I'm just going to kind of keep my head down and hope for the best? Are you there, or are you going to take a really, real active role? And I talk about kind of self leadership quite a lot, but a really, really active role in what are the gaps that you've currently got and what are the gaps that you need to fill, and how can you be proactive in terms of trying to really kind of fill those gaps? and what we're seeing a lot at the moment is people who've been displaced, their roles have been made redundant, and they feel at a complete loss because they completely lack clarity in terms of which direction they want their careers to go in and what skills, whether they be soft skills or hard skills, they're going to need in order to kind of future-proof themselves. So really that's what we're seeing in the market, these kind of three buckets that people are sat in. I don't know if you kind of feel the same, Rachel.
Oh, completely. And do you know what? Each of those options resonates with me. I don't blame anybody for staying quiet and holding their nerve in terms of that. You know, and this is that bit about survival. You know, you might be coming into 2026 and it's a bit too much for you to even think about growing at the moment. We get that because actually you're still in survival mode from last year. You're coming into this thinking, wow, I missed the cut. I've done okay. I'm still here. You might need to regroup with that. And what might have happened, though, is you might have lost your voice. So you might be a bit safe. And I get that completely. I completely understand, having gone through that processes like that myself. The idea of being safe and stable and still here are great. But actually, is it giving you joy? Is it giving you, why did you come into this work in the first place? Is it giving you that energy, that drive, that motivation that you need? That's just something to explore in 2026, because if you want a career where you're not just surviving, you're thriving, we can help you with that. We can absolutely help you get your mojo back. And the masterclass we'll cover on the 29th is all about, for some people, it'll be about rediscovering the reason they came into this role in the first place.
Yeah.
And the reason why people are there, and that's why Crest, which is our coaching program for people who work in this area, is for new and also existing professionals in this area. Because it might be you need to renew yourself there, because the other option, which is to go out there and look elsewhere, is brutal at the moment. It's so difficult. The amount of applications for one head of ED&I role, one ED&I partner that people are getting, many people with brilliant skill sets are not getting past the first sift because there's many of us going for the roles because so many did lose their jobs last year. You've got AI in the middle of that, where, let's face it, anyone can throw in a CV now, whether they've had that experience or not. You've got to try and get through that, perhaps that AI sift as well. Getting a job is not necessarily the answer to this either. But if you want to get that job and you want to stand out, this is where I think the future of inclusion is employee experience, which is what we build the masterclass on. In terms of, it's not just about what you know in one particular area of inclusion. It's not just about you knowing the 9 protected characteristics anymore. That won't stand you up against the competition in that right way. You've got to look at that broader employee experience alongside employee engagement, well-being, leadership. All these things are absolutely integrated. Sally, when you and your clients are speaking to you, are they looking for a wider skill set, do you think? What's that looking like?
I think the ones that have done the work that understand exactly what they want from an inclusion perspective, absolutely, are either looking for someone at a more senior level who can look after all those different things.
Yeah.
And what I mean by look after all those different things is if they're much more mature in their inclusion journey, they understand the interdependencies. So you and I talk a lot about this, but we see it as a system as opposed to like inclusion being this kind of bolt on. How do we embed equity and inclusion, throughout the entire life cycle, engagement being a huge part of that? How do we, attract, engage, retain, develop talent, essentially? We, on the other side of the coin, what we're seeing is far more kind of nuanced roles. So actually, we're looking for somebody from a D&I AI perspective. We're looking at someone from a D&I product development perspective. We're looking at someone from a D&I, EIG perspective. We're definitely seeing spin outs of the roles, but I think that's even more kind of invitation to, number one, to the point that you made, gain real clarity of what you want your next role to be. Okay, what are the bits of your job that light you up? What are the bits of the job you're like, actually, I never want to, do a pay gap analysis again? And what in terms of that kind of self-leadership bit, which are the bits that I'm going to take responsibility and accountability for in order to do, find joy in my work, reconnect, gain that clarity. Because I think for me, I see a lot of people in my career coaching capacity that have really lost all their confidence. They're really doubting themselves, despite the fact that they are sensational. Like if they saw themselves the way I do, in terms of through my eyes, genuinely, I mean, all the work I do is about making people feel better about themselves, and I absolutely love it. But it's reconnecting to the point that you made earlier, what it is that you want to do. Why is it that you want to do this work? Do you feel disillusioned? Is it time to, some people are taking a break and thinking, actually, that's not what I want to do. But I think with the clarity comes confidence. With the confidence comes motivation. And we really want to your point, leave this feeling of survival, right? And we went through it, both of us. This is how we connected last year. This feeling of survival, and actually taking control back and feeling some empowerment from that, and having it, and going into 2026 thinking, this is the year I'm going to thrive, right? This is the year I'm going to take control of my career. So yeah, I'm really excited about, well, the work that you're doing, the work that I'm doing, because I think there is absolutely a calling for it at the moment. And it's just, I feel very privileged to be able to support people through it.
Well, I think the other group that really needs support, and actually a hidden group that we might not have spoken about yet, is there are many situations now where the ED&I talent has left, okay, for whatever reason, either moved on and they've not replaced that role, because unlike 2020, there wasn't necessarily the same business case anymore, although we know there is, but hey. Yeah. Also, that people are made redundant, but the work still needs doing. And can remember a lot of the work, and one of the challenges we have in our profession is a lot of the work we do, we're doing it on our own or just a few, and it's quite hidden. So until that role goes, you don't realize what actually perhaps we're delivering on, because sometimes we're not the best at expressing what we deliver, and the whole conversation about how to sell the return of investment. I don't know about you, I was continually, when I was in an in-house role, I felt like a salesperson every day trying to justify my role in a way that, like I said, my finance director never had to have that conversation. Yeah. So there's an unknown about this. And what we're in a position of now is ED&I talent, or let's use the broadest term, organizational cultural talent has exited, left. The work still needs doing. Some of it still needs picking up, particularly the legislative piece. And poor HRBP, who's perhaps had no experience in this world at all. Oh, could you now look after the ED&I wellbeing portfolio, please? And they're picking this piece up, and they've probably come through a generalist route. They've come through an operational route where, if you want to learn about operations and how to be a good business partner, or you want to learn about TA or other areas of HR, there's lots of places to go to for that, CIPD, etc., etc. This world of organizational culture there's not many places to go to learn how to do it, and to learn from professionals or people who've been there and done it. That's why, in my view, Sally, the inclusion network, we'll call it, the part that me and you play, where with all our network, that's why we've got such a good, healthy network, I think, because we've had to look after each other. Yeah. If I ask you now, if someone came to you now and says, I want to start working in ED&I, I want to start working in organizational culture, or I've been given this portfolio and I haven't got a clue where to go with it, and yet I'm supposed to be the one expert in my organization. The next time, for example, the Supreme Court ruling, I'm not going to go there, it's fine. But, when somebody says, what do we do about that, Rachel? Where'd you go to find out that answer? And what we're going to be talking about on the 29th on our Crest Masterclass, and we'll share the link for everybody so that they can join us. We'll obviously go into this a lot more depth about what that coaching program can offer you. It will talk you all the way through all the different elements of the employee experience, all the bits you need to know about now, from the logistics of the Equality Act right through to data and metrics, right through to inclusive leadership, internal consultancy skills, the bits that you can't necessarily go for help on. I've done wrong. I see kind of a one-day course on how to do ED&I, and they're run by brilliant people. They might not necessarily go into the depth you need of an ongoing coaching program where you can reflect and you can deal with the issues you deal with on a daily basis. And also, what the other bit that we want to do, and you know, Sally, you and I speak very passionate about it. You have a really good community of professionals. I want to launch our community as well of wave makers, where we are a community, because you're often very lonely in this world. Yeah. Where can you go to get this support? And if you attend our masterclass, you'll learn about employee experience and the future of inclusion and all the areas we talk about here, but how to develop those skills for you so that you get your career back on track.
Oh, absolutely. I'm excited about this. Right. So let's go through we've gone through kind of what to expect. So when is it? What are the dates and times where we're going to be, on the wavelengths and helping people?
So 29th of January is you've probably seen our posts on LinkedIn, but we'll definitely do some follow-up and you will see this. I'm going to say 12 o'clock GMT. Sally, that's right, isn't it?
12 o'clock GMT, it is.
There we go, because obviously you can join us from wherever you can. What we will do is talk you through, well, a lot of it will be a similar conversation to this, but to a deeper level. So we will be having conversations about the future of inclusion, the future of working in this profession, and this ultimate bit about how can you get that control back? How can you get your joy back? How can you get your energy back for working in this area? And how can you really deliver cultural change? Because you know, many of us know it's needed. We're just not quite sure how to do it. We'll talk you through the employee experience model that we've come up with at Change Wave Consultancy. All the different elements of that. We'll do a deep dive into ED&I, well-being, leadership, EVP, employee engagement, or psychological safety. Take your pick, and that very important bit about developing internal consultancy skills, because you can have really good lived experience, you can have a real interest and a passion, but you've got to convince your stakeholders even more than you probably had to before about the importance of this work. And how do you do that? We'll also be talking about data and metrics as well. And what that is unlike open programs that you can go to find out about it, it's a one-on-one coaching program. So you get that information, that knowledge from somebody who's perhaps been there and done it, i.e. me. And also you'll be getting time to reflect and build on your own career. All the successful people I know, Sally, have someone in their corner. They've got a brilliant coach. They've got a brilliant mentor. You're one for me. You know you are. You push me and you make me do things that sometimes I don't want to do. You can't do it on your own. You need a support network. And that community that you will join of wave makers will be your support network for the future.
Oh, I love this. I'm so excited. And you know what? What a bloody way to set out on 2026. I mean, I'm such a advocate for taking control of your own career, you know, of your own destiny, of your own growth. And I think you're right in terms of investment, you know, especially for organizations who have gone away with or done away with, you know, ED&I teams. This is a fantastic investment, even from a corporate perspective, in terms of, are you setting the individual up who's responsible for this for success, right? That's the most important thing. The pendulum, you know, is going to start swinging the other way.
Well, I think it started, Sally. Really, the market's pretty buoyant at the moment.
Yeah, it is. The pendulum is going to start swinging. And yeah, we need to future-proof this work and yourselves in that pendulum swim. So, right, we will put the details for the session in the comments of this video. We will also share it on LinkedIn. But yeah, if you want any more details, contact Rachel and I directly in our DMs. But we will see you then on the 29th at 12 o'clock. Thanks, Rachel.
Bring the lunch.
Bring your lunch. We're actually going through my lunch because I've got an event that day. We're going through my lunch, so I'm going to have. Yeah,
You
I might.
eat, you're allowed to.
I'll wait. But good to see you. Thanks for jumping on this
Thank
morning
you.
and doing this. I really appreciate it. And yeah, hopefully see some of you there in person. Take care. See you later.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.